what are some of the easier, cheaper ways to start talking to them?
I think the first way would get plugged into your community. Find something that you care about, that you're passionate about, that has nothing really to do with your business, but get involved. Because once people start to trust you and know you, they're going to start coming to you and asking you questions. It may be organically, nonchalantly, hey, what about so-and-so? But they're going to start to see you as a subject matter in that field, but they got to know about you before they need you.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and on today's episode, we have part 2 of our interview with Carlie Rye. In this episode, we're going to talk to her about branding yourself, branding your small business, things small businesses can do to quickly advertise for themselves and start to get the phone ringing, a little bit about her time in radio and radio as a medium for advertising. And we're going to talk about her work as a board member with the Harbor Shelter, which is a domestic violence shelter here in Johnston County. But before we do that, I want to remind you to like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you see it, whether it be Apple, Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, or any of the other social media channels of the Best of Johnston County Podcast, so that you'll be made aware of future episodes of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. The Best Johnston County Podcast comes out every single Monday, and it's been coming out for well over a year now. So go back and listen to some of our previous guests, including County Commissioner Chairman Bush Lauder, County Economic Development Chairman Chris Johnson, County Commissioner Patrick Harris, Representative Donna White, Miss Tina America Hanley House, local dentist Tim Sims, local realtor Don O'Meara. We've had a lot of great guests. I think you'd find it fascinating. If you love Johnston County as much as I do, I think all of these people would be educational in things they've shared. I know I learned something every single episode. And go back and listen to the first episode with Carlie Rye, where she talked about her work with Universal Chevrolet, her work with the Cleveland Christmas Parade, the Clayton Christmas tree lighting, which happens every year. Will have already happened by the time this episode airs, but we'd invite you to go into those, as well as some more stuff about electric vehicles. I learned a lot in that interview with her, so go back and listen to that one. It ran a few weeks ago. Welcome, Carlie.
Thank you.
All right, so we've done all of that. There's a lot of previewing and telling people where they can find stuff and all that stuff. But anyway, not everybody listens to every episode. So I'm going to say, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do?
Carlie Rye. I'm originally from Goldsboro, now in Smithfield, and I currently am Public Relations Manager for Universal Chevrolet, which is downtown Lindale, and kind of the MC around town, professional speaker, love to help businesses grow and just kind of let them know some of the secrets that I've learned over the years.
Right. And I know you're doing some individual marketing for some businesses now on your own. And what is the first thing you would advise somebody that was starting a small business about marketing?
To identify who's your target audience. Who are you marketing to? What do you want? What's going to make you more money? What's profitable for you, so you know what you're marketing?
Right. You absolutely need to know. I use the word avatar. The marketing team that I work with uses archetype. But you have to, I don't know, Avatar, the movie, whatever. But like, I mean, you do have to know who you're talking to, yes, and what you're going to sell to them.
And what you're going to say. And one of the biggest mistakes people often make when they're marketing their business is they say too much, or it's too one-sided. They're thinking about their business, but not the consumer.
That's true. So what are some questions that businesses can ask themselves that'll make where they don't maybe make some of these mistakes?
What problem do you solve for your customer? What are you making life easier for them? Are you saving them time? Are you saving them money? What's going to happen if they use your service? What's going to happen if they don't use your service? What's your competitive advantage compared to your competitors? What's different about your business? If they don't call you, who are they going to call?
That's true. And, whether it be an avatar or archetype, you should write down who is your ideal client.
Right.
What problems is your ideal client suffering from?
Mm-hmm.
What solution are you offering for whatever good or services that you're providing? And where does that person live? Where do they shop?
Sure.
What media do they consume? These are all questions that I'm constantly asking myself in my business, and I've been in business for over 24 years.
And then also understanding how often do they need your product or your service? How often are they going to use it? You know, buying a hot dog or going to get a cheeseburger on Friday night is a lot different than maybe buying a house or buying a car. People don't buy houses and cars every month. I go out to eat several times a week.
Right. So anyway, if they have identified that, they say who they're wanting to talk to. Here we're often talking to mid-career professionals and their spouses, and for whatever reason their relationships are not working out. They usually have 2 or 3 kids. They're between the ages of 40 and 55 is most of our clients. Not all of them. We'll represent anybody, but that's kind of who we're talking to, and so we go out and we try to market that way. If the person has identified who they're talking to, what are some of the easier, cheaper ways to start talking to them?
I think the first way would get plugged into your community. Find something that you care about, that you're passionate about, that has nothing really to do with your business, but get involved. Because once people start to trust you and know you, they're going to start coming to you and asking you questions. It may be organically, nonchalantly, hey, what about so-and-so? But they're going to start to see you as a subject matter in that field, but they got to know about you before they need you.
Right. There's no doubt about that. And there's tons of chambers of commerces where you can get involved, and all of the local chambers of commerces have after hours programs where they have meet and greets at 5:30 at restaurants or at individual businesses. They all do breakfasts every single month. They all do some sort of marketing training. I know you do teach some marketing classes with Wait Tech. So, the information's out there. There's a way to go out and meet people,
sure,
but you've got to do it.
You got to do it. And then the other things are just simple things from, putting your logo on stuff that you do, wearing your company shirt, having your business cards. When guerrilla marketing, partner with a business that you can do something with that benefits. It's a mutually beneficial relationship where you can reach their customers and their circle of friends or prospects.
No doubt about that. One of the things I advise businesses, if they ask me what to do, is if you don't have a Google My Business listing, GMB or whatever you call it, you should go create one because they're free and you can create it. And that's how you get on the map. And that's how you start by getting on the Google map, is by creating a Google My Business listing.
Right. And that's free. And 80% of people, when they hear something or see something, the next thing they're going to do is go online and validate that. They're going to go and look for that information. And if you're not there, your competitor will be there.
Right. There's no doubt, because you're absolutely right. And, and if you don't have a website, even if it's a basic 2 or 3 page website, that's another thing for validation. We can get into SEO and we could do 10 podcasts on that. But the basics are get a Google My Business listing and get some version of a website that communicates to the clients what you do and who you serve.
Definitely. And for people that say they can't afford to advertise, I would tell them you can't afford not to advertise. Look at your market share like a pizza, in slices, and how many people are you appealing to? And if you're not advertising, that would be 0. And then your competitor is the full pie.
No, you're right about that. And then there's things you can do with the Google My Business listing. You can upload pictures of your office so that people, before they come, or your workplace, will be more comfortable. They can see what it looks like. And then you can get 5-star reviews from previous customers to say you did a good job and you stood by what you said you would do. And, it's like
respond to reviews.
I respond to all my reviews. Yeah. And most of them are 5 stars, but sometimes they're not. And I respond to all of them.
And the way that Google works now, too, is you're fighting really hard to remain on that first page of Google. So when you log into your Google business profile, that's letting Google know, hey, I'm still here. I'm still active. I'm still relevant. And when you're making those changes every month, then you're pushing yourself organically up towards the top.
Right. And you can upload blogs where you write stories about products you do or clients you've served. Of course, you can get the 5-star reviews. You can put up the pictures as well. Put your hours. Put your location, your hours, your phone number, your website, all of that. this is easy. This is free and can be done in 15 minutes.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference in your visibility in the marketplace.
Definitely. Another thing will be Facebook. Having a Facebook account is free, and people want to see inside information on Facebook. I think one of the number one mistakes I see is Facebook business owners tend to make it too salesy. And you do want to show off your product and what you do, but give them a little bit of inside information. Tell them something that they didn't know. Show them your funny side or something that's relatable. You locked your keys in your car. Tell them about that, because that shows that you're human, and then they can see a side of your personality.
Well, and that's it. And people want to do business with people they trust, that they have a relationship with, and you can start to build that relationship through some of these social media channels.
Definitely, most definitely. And then, when it comes to bigger dollars, whether it be radio, billboard, TV, those are great ways to reach customers as well. You just got to make sure that you're spending your money the right way, and that you have the frequency, and that your message is right.
Right. And I think the key thing is it's sort of this media market message match, right? The media you choose, whether it be radio, TV, online, or whatever, the market that you're trying to reach need to match the customer you're trying to talk to. So we go back to the beginning with, who are you trying to talk to and where are they?
Right. Get right to it. Does your back hurt? Is your toilet bubbling? And then that customer is like, yes.
Right. I mean, right. Whatever you were selling, you wouldn't be selling it if somebody didn't need it.
Right.
And so you just need to, say, hey, look, you're right. Your back hurt, toilet, same thing. I mean, did your home flood? You think about ServPro and all the marketing they've done over the years to promote their sort of emergency cleanup stuff, right?
Definitely.
They're so big. I think of them, even if I'm thinking of just not them, like just thinking of somebody in their marketplace of doing restoration type stuff if you have an emergency. So what about people building their personal brand? For not as much a business, but their personal brand. What would you suggest people do to do that?
Same thing. Get active. Find a group, something that you care about, and be known for that. And, don't be afraid to share what you think or share what you know. Oftentimes people are scared to speak up and say things, but that's okay. Find a group to get involved with, volunteer. There's so many things going on in this county where we need help, where somebody will take you up on that offer and share your expertise, and then the word will spread, and you'll be known for that particular thing.
That's a good idea too. And I think a lot of people don't realize that if you are working, I talk to realtors sometimes and help do continuing eds with realtors where we talk about the 5 mistakes realtors make in a divorce, anything to do to try to, but the thing I talk to them about at mortgage brokers as well is, you have to market yourself individually underneath this umbrella. And we talked to some of the attorneys here as well, underneath the umbrella of the business.
Right.
You need to become your own brand, maybe not KW Platinum, maybe not just April Stevens team, maybe not just Hometown Realty. You need to be, something to have your own brand, your own following,
right,
as part of your marketing, as underneath the bigger umbrella where there are 20, 30 agents, all of these different realtor locations and stuff like that.
Right. You are your own identity, and there's things that you're going to be involved with that the other person may not be. They may see you on the ball field, or you may be known for selling candles on the side or whatnot, but you'll be able to connect with other like-minded individuals.
Right. And I do think one of the things that I see people make mistakes, and I've done this myself, is they end up being too broad in what they're trying to sell. I know when I started out, I was doing criminal law, I was doing family law, and, I was sort of spread. And as my family law business grew, I realized, that really that was more my passion than the criminal law. I enjoyed doing criminal law and representing defendants, and that if I was really going to make a real go of this business, I really needed to focus just on family law and become an expert at that, which means I had to say no to a lot of other business that I could have used at the time so that I could be a better family lawyer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess it goes back to the good, better, best thing. You can't be the best at everything. So pick what is it that you enjoy, because if you enjoy what you're doing, you're naturally going to be better at it. Myself, I'm not great at designing websites. I don't have anything to do with that. I'm great at telling people what they should do in terms of local events on the ground. So that's kind of what I focus on. Great at making flyers or creating an effective message that the customer can identify with. So if I know that I'm not great at websites, that's not going to be me.
Yeah, well, and if you start to grow any business or any personal brand, as an individual or whatever, at some point you need to invest in a sort of a CRM, a client relationship management system, so that you'll know who your leads are, so that you can continuously communicate with them, because not everybody is ready to buy immediately when they hear of your brand or of your service.
And then I'll give you reminders of things like anniversaries and birth dates, or hey, I saw that you were looking at so and so, just checking in. Do you need anything? Or how are things going? And as much as we like to think we'll remember, we get busy and we'll forget. Or those Post-it notes that we jotted those notes down, they're going to get lost. So you're right. The CRM would be very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, you don't have to be really big. There's a lot of them out there and they don't cost a ton of money, but they're definitely worth their weight in gold, in my opinion, once you get one and you start to manage it and you kind of know, because, I don't know. I mean, I've read that, somebody's going to have anywhere from 10 to 15 contacts with your brand before they ever purchase.
Gracious. Wow. 10 to 15. Yeah, you really got to stand out.
Right.
And think about how many eyeballs are not seeing your brand if you're not advertising.
Right. Well, and depending on, we go back to what you said earlier, depending on what you're selling, they may not need it right now.
Sure.
But if you can become a trusted brand, a trusted resource when they do need it or their friends or family need it, your name will come to mind and they'll refer people to you.
Definitely. And when we're talking about branding yourself, again, don't be afraid to get out there and to pass out your business cards and just continue to tell people. And if it seems like it's not getting anywhere and you're trying, that something will click and something will happen. And then all of a sudden you'll start getting more business than what you can handle. Or just when you're about to give up, something will happen, I promise.
Well, and that's true. And I talk about on this podcast all the time, you have to make a decision to move forward. You have to make a decision to put yourself out there. And you may not be everybody's cup of tea. And I know I am not, but you're somebody's cup of tea and you can help them. But if they have no awareness that you exist, then you're not able to help them.
Right. And they're not going to find out about you if you're not out and about or you're not advertising.
That's true. That's true. And, once you start getting going, there is local service ads on Google, which is a version of pay-per-click. And then there's actual pay-per-click on Google. You can do those. Local service ads are not hard to set up. I do think if you're going to try to pay-per-click, you might want to get a professional marketer. But local service ads really are not hard to set up. There are tons of YouTube videos on how to do it. And you can decide how much you want to pay and how much your budget will be and stuff like that. And that's a way to get your name out there as well without spending thousands and thousands of dollars.
And I've had a lot of good luck with over the air delivering ads to TVs on streaming solution or streaming television as well. And that tends to be pretty affordable.
That's true. And I've looked into that. And I am looking into that as we speak. So you might start seeing TV commercials. I don't know what it'll look like, but right now we're trying to decide what to say. So
and that's right. You definitely, that's important because people are going to decide within the first 2 or 3 seconds on do they want to continue to listen? Are they going to listen to the whole thing? So getting right to it. Another idea would be YouTube. I mean, YouTube might, depending on what your budget is, but there's plenty of people going to YouTube every day.
Yeah. I mean, and the other part, what people may not realize is YouTube is the second most searched. People go there and search. It's the second most searched vehicle behind Google.
That's what I was
saying. And Google owns YouTube.
Yes.
And so if you optimize your videos on YouTube and you're putting content out there that's interesting, people will find it because people now go and search for products and businesses on YouTube, just like they would go search for products and businesses on Google.
And premium television too. I mean, they're subscribing to YouTube just like you would subscribe to any other streaming service as well.
That's true as well. So yeah, I mean, these are all great advice. I mean, this is like truth bomb after truth bomb here on this episode of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. If you're looking at marketing or branding yourself as a small business, there's no doubt. But you spent some time in radio. You and your father, you owned a radio station for 8 or 9 years. You sold that a couple of years ago. Do you believe that radio advertising is still an effective way to communicate with people?
Radio is definitely a strong medium to advertise and get your message out. What you need to have is the frequency. You got to make sure that the commercials that you are running are being played enough, because the average person is not listening at that moment. There might be 3 to 5% of the people tuned in when your ad is playing. So you have to have enough ads. And being that they're not seeing it and they can't go back and reread it, your message is key. So if you have a 30-second commercial, making sure that you're getting right to it, and that's your real estate, that you're solving a problem for them, and you're identifying them where they're going to remember it to go and Google you, like we were talking about earlier, and look up the rest or give you a call.
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
All right. Well, if anybody wanted to talk to you about marketing and some of the stuff that you're doing, how would they reach out to you?
Oh, I would be glad to help them, tell them what I know. I definitely would advise for them to get involved in a local festival. There's so many things going on in Johnston County. That is the best way and the cheapest way to meet your customers or meet people or develop relationships. Any of the Harvest Festival, Mule Days, Railroad Days, Ham and Yam,
Right.
all of those. As far as reaching me, Facebook, Carlie Rye.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good on Facebook. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, we can talk about marketing all day. I love talking about marketing. I'm completely fascinated by it, how people make buying decisions and all that stuff. But let's transition here and talk a little bit about your involvement with the Harbor Shelter. You're on the board there. Tell the listeners about what the Harbor Shelter is and what it does.
So Harbor Shelter is a nonprofit in Johnston County that helps women or men that are victims of domestic violence and provides a safe place for them to stay and hope and resources. So whether they need help with the legal system or they need help getting a job, they need temporary housing. I mean, there's just, if they've been in a trauma situation and they need health care, it's a great nonprofit. And actually, we're celebrating 40 years. So February 22nd is going to be our Black and White Gala, and that's their number one fundraiser. And I would invite you to come.
It is a tremendous gala. I've watched it evolve over the years to this sort of black tie affair that it is now. And my office has been very honored to be able to sponsor that for the last few years, and we'll be sponsored again this year as well. February 22nd, 2025 is that big event, and it's a ton of fun. They usually have music. The food is great. They have a red carpet type thing, get your picture taken, get all dolled up, all that good stuff, and raising money for a great cause, because we work with Harbor all the time, because unfortunately domestic violence is real and it's out there. And I think there's a lot more of it out there than the average person in the public realizes.
Yeah, they say 1 out of 4 women are victims of domestic violence or know somebody that has been. And if you're listening right now and you're like, man, I want to go to that gala, but I can't go that day, or I have something to do, there's other ways that you can support Harbor. So there's Pizzazz, which is their upscale retail boutique that's downtown Clayton. And you can go in there and shop and you can find some good deals, or you can donate your women's clothing that you're no longer wearing or accessories, and then they'll resell those and the money goes to help.
Yeah, no, and they used to have the one in Smithfield. I know it closed a couple of years ago, but yeah, they're always looking for donations of clothing and stuff. I do think you have to make an appointment to donate now. It used to be you could just drop it off. Now I think you have to call them. Is Pizzazz has an own website, or is it all part of
Pizzazz? Yeah, Pizzazz has its own website and their own Facebook page, and then that's just so they know that you're coming. And we don't want everyone dropping everything off at the same time, and then they can go through it too and then get it out. So.
Yeah, and they do a tremendous job with Harbor here in Johnston County, and as the Safe House in Harnett County and Interact in Wake County, because they have a 24-hour emergency shelter where people can go if they need immediate safety, and they have programs for children. And look, even if they have classes, the classes are excellent. Even if you're in a situation and you're not ready to leave, you can go to the classes and learn how to live in that situation, learn about resources on how to get out and where you can go. They have a 24-hour crisis line that you can call at any point. Somebody will talk to you about where you're at, They're not going to pass judgment on you. They're going to try to help you. They're going to try to get you to the community resources you need. I mean, Harbor just does a tremendous amount in this county.
Yeah, and they're really focusing on educating what a healthy relationship looks like.
Well, and the one thing that I always say when I talk about domestic violence is it's not always being hit. And I think there's a lot of people that are victims of domestic violence, but they don't realize it because they've not been physically struck by a partner.
Right.
But the verbal abuse is also domestic violence. The belittling, the calling of names, the controlling,
isolation.
Right, the cutting you off from the world, all of that stuff is also domestic violence. And if you're in a situation where that's going on and you know somebody, Harbor can help with that too. You don't have to have been physically struck. You don't have to be having to run out the door because somebody's got a gun or you've been hit. Like, they can help you if you're just facing verbal abuse and stuff like that. And if you have friends or family that are in that situation, call them. They'll help anybody.
Yeah, say something, definitely.
See something, say something kind of thing. There's no doubt about that. So what are some of the other fundraisers Harbor has through the years? I know we have the big gala. It's always around Halloween. I mean, not Halloween. It's always around Valentine's Day and has been for many, many years. But they also do, I did this a few years ago, walk a mile in her shoes.
Walk in her shoes. That's my favorite event. I love it. You know, you guys have no idea what it's like for us women to wear these high heels for 8-10 hours a day. And then you want to complain when you have them on for 5 minutes.
I did it. I did it one time, but they accused me of cheating because I found some flats.
No.
Right, I found flats.
It's called heels.
No.
High heels. No, so they have a fundraiser twice a year. Tank of Johnston County does it, and then we have one usually in the spring. But that's where guys will put on high heels for fundraiser and walk in her shoes, and it's just fun to watch. It's entertaining, light, and a great way for us to raise money, but also create awareness to what Harbor does.
That's true. And so men go out and they get people to donate for them for walking 1 or 2 laps or whatever in these shoes. It's kind of like the crop walk or any other walk. And you go out and you raise money, and then you do it. You walk a couple laps and you raise money for a good cause. And it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing it. I didn't like the fact that they said I was cheating because I was wearing flats, but my feet are so wide.
What color were your shoes?
They were red. They were red. Okay. But the thing was, my foot is so wide, I couldn't find a shoe with the heels quite wide enough. So I had to go with the flats. But
I had to do the same thing at my Chevrolet dealership. I have a size 11 foot. So all the guys, they thought they weren't going to be able to do it. They're like, you're not going to be able to find us any shoes. I was like, oh no. I had all those guys in my shoes. But they've stretched them out since then.
They stretched them out. So so that's a fun program they do as well. HarborShelter.org. Lots of ways to get involved. Lots of ways to give. Lots of ways to support them. They need all the help that they can get, from donations, your prayers, if you have a business that can give resources. I know one time I gave Harbor one of my older cars so that they could give that to somebody to get started. I did that a few years ago. I mean, there's just lots of things. And if you don't think you can help, you call them. I guarantee you can.
Yeah, or even volunteering at the store.
No doubt. Well, the last question I have for everybody on the Best of Johnston County podcast is, what do you love most about Johnston County?
Oh my goodness. I think I told you this last time. I'm going to stick with it. I'm a beer girl. The social districts. I love now that we can go downtown in several areas and just shop and people watch, listen to live music. I mean, it seems like every Friday, Thursday night, somebody has a live band and it's free. I love that.
Oh, it's great. And downtown Clayton is awesome for that now. And
Selma?
they have Selma as well. Yeah. And, they've got that social district in Clayton, and the shops are open, and, they got that arcade down in Clayton now. If you've not been to the arcade, it's not a kid's arcade. It's an adult arcade.
Cool.
It is so cool and so much fun. And would highly, if you've not been to downtown Clayton in the last year or two, I would say go down there on Thursday night, Friday night, Manning's. tons of great restaurants, bars, everything. It's kind of a happening place. It's kind of hard to believe, but it is.
And we can't leave out Selma though, because I mean, Selma has grown tremendously in the past 3 or 4 years.
Well, it has, and you have the antiques. You've got the restaurants there. You also have the Old North State Food Hall across
Brewery.
95.
There's a couple of places down there.
Right, yeah. The Old North State Food Hall has got tons of great food in there. I was there the other night. Also, they have the new shopping center on the other side over there. On the other, North State Food Hall on one side of 70. On the other side, then they have Marshalls and Academy Sports, and
there's no reason to leave Joco.
Yeah, maybe it's not Marshalls. It's Academy Sports, and Hobby Lobby
Burlington
is over
Hobby
there.
Lobby, yep.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a Marshalls or not, but Academy Sports is there too. So yeah, tremendous. And that's just going to continue to grow over there in Selma as well. So there's no doubt. Well, cool. Well, we'd like to thank Carlie Rye for coming on and being on our guest on this episode of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. As we mentioned earlier, please like, follow, subscribe to this podcast wherever you're seeing it. Also, give us a 5-star review down below and tag us in your Instagram stories, Best of Johnston County Podcast. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.